was pretty funny. How y'all doing today? Um, we got a pretty organized live today. We're gonna have a nice little slide. We're gonna talk about a lot of stuff. We're gonna talk about Dalano Banton. We're gonna talk about a missed opportunity from the Toronto Raptors. Luka to the Raptors? What? What are these guys talking about? There's actual rumors about that. We are going to talk about the Michael Grange report. We're going to talk about Damian Lillard, and of course, our Rexdale boy, number 45 bus, Dalano Banton, heading to the Boston Celtics. So let's start with that. And then we are going to descend a little bit. It's going to be a quick hitter, right? I don't do the digest stuff. Y'all know that I'm not Raptors Digest, but I thought it would be a really good day where there isn't a lot going on and there's a lot of people buzzing about a lot of stuff. And there's so much to talk about. I wanted to give a quick hitter on all of these talking points. Maybe I'll get stuck for 2 minutes on something, but let's try this. Okay. So that's too big, man. Hang on. There we go. Y'all see this, yeah? Okay. So Dalano Banton ends up with the Boston Celtics. How do I feel about this? Honestly, second round picks don't usually work out. That's how I feel about it. Now, did Dalano have a little bit more potential? Sure, in theory. But in practice, he's had 2 full years. He had 2 full summer leagues. And I haven't seen an NBA point guard. I have, however, seen maybe at maximum a 10th or 11th guy. At this point, it's okay to start thinking. He was already an older rookie. It's okay to start thinking about fit, organizational fit. Now, it sucks, obviously, because you're gonna think about the theoretical value of a second round pick, and you're gonna say, well, that's a waste. It's not entirely a waste, right? You get 2 years at a very, very decent contract hit for a guy. Sometimes they don't work out. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh my God, you didn't hit on the 46th pick. So it's a little tough because it's also, it's both picks, right? David Johnson and Dalano Banton. It's always a little bit perplexing, to be honest, that the Raptors drafted 3 big point guards in that same draft in 2021. But Dalano, he felt like he had a chance, right? There was some interesting bits of potential, especially early in his rookie year. I wish him very good luck in Boston. They're doing some incredible things in Boston. Brad Stevens is assembling one hell of a young prospect board where one of these guys could pop. I feel much more passionately and much more strongly about Justin Champagnie than I do about Dalano Banton. So I was bummed that we lost Justin last year. And I still think he has a really good chance to be like one of those role players down the line who's like the 8th guy, 9th guy on a bench. And you're just like, shoot, could really use a guy like that. So I'm wishing luck to our Toronto boys, Justin Champagnie and Dalano Banton down in Boston. Hope we kick y'all ass next time we see Boston. But I like what Boston's doing, man. They got a lot of young players, value players at the end of the draft. I think they're doing a really smart thing with developing prospects. All right, moving on from Dalano Banton. Marquise Nowell. Speaking of undrafted second round type guys, a friend of mine, Adam, shout out to Adam, was really disappointed. He was like, man, we're not going to get to see Dalano Banton in the 905. Well, you're going to get to see Marquise Nowell, and I think you're going to have a hell of a time. This guy's really fun to watch. Like, I have no idea if he's ever going to be an NBA player. I don't know. I'm not willing to bet against him because I made that mistake a few too many times. But I do want to say that I think that he has a chance to at least be a very good G League player. And from there, who knows? Maybe the passing is good enough. Maybe the wingspan's good enough. I don't know. Maybe he has a unprecedented growth spurt at this point. I have no idea. That's not me being mawkish or anything like that. It's really hard. It's a very difficult path, right, that he has forward. But he's got some real gifts, a gift for passing. And in the G League, when you want to start prioritizing development as an organization, you really need a guy who can set you up. And he can set you up in a way that, quite frankly, Dalano Banton couldn't. He's not a natural point guard. And it's weird because, he was such a passer. He was such a passer at Nebraska, but it felt like he was never really a natural point guard, but more of a connector, kind of like what they accused Scottie Barnes of being, right? So it's always going to be difficult. But the theory, you try to judge more so the process than the result. I at least do. I want to judge more so the process than the result, because sometimes you get the right result with the wrong process. Like, Fred VanVleet moving on to Houston, you kind of got the right result, which is you didn't sign the guy, but you had the wrong process. You chased him hard. You doubled down at the deadline because you were afraid to move him. We will talk a little bit about that, but I do want to caution that the Fred VanVleet vitriol is done. On this channel, there will be no more of that. There is actually something that I wrote to Fred VanVleet that I know that someone who knows him very well saw, and I hope that he'll share it with him, because I think it would be a really good way to sort of close the loop. But I do want to say that, you don't get Fred VanVleet in free agency. I think it's a win, but clearly you wanted him, so it's kind of a loss. It's weird. It's hard to evaluate. But someone's saying Nowell over Fred. Oh man, if you get that outcome with him, that'd be great. But regardless of what he will do, I think the 905 is going to be really fun with Marquise Nowell. I'm looking forward to seeing, some wings, get some like really interesting things. All right. So Luka Dončić to Toronto. This was kind of a coy, somewhat vague thing uttered today on the Hoop Collective podcast with Brian Windhorst, where a Mavs insider, Tim McMahon, said there is a head coach in the league of Serbian descent. FYI, there's only one. So I don't know why he's speaking in code. Who has a very chummy relationship with a certain young superstar that comes from the Balkans. Well, there are only two superstars that come from the Balkans, and that is Luka Dončić and Nikola Jokic. Nikola Jokic is not who he's talking about. It is true. It is very true. They are very close. Luka's dad is Serbian. There is some deep connections there. I understand. Sorry, this is a very controversial thing for a lot of Slovenian people to have to admit sometimes. Yes, I will concede that Luka identifies as Slovenian, but do not forget that he is not that tall and he is not that great at basketball because his mom was a Slovenian model. He is, however, great at basketball because his father was a Serbian basketball player as well. And in my opinion, okay, do I have to spell it out for you? Okay, in my opinion, he is 6'6" because his father is 6'7". But yes, there is some connection there. And yes, I do think that there is a potential that anytime you have a situation with a guy like Kyrie Irving on your team and you have a superstar that you're pairing with Kyrie Irving, that there's a very good chance that that superstar will demand a trade. Now, Luka has several years left under contract, and this is maybe not the type of player that you move off of just because he demands a trade. But if he demands a trade, he's going through a lot right now. I don't know how much is out there, so I don't want to be talking too much because sometimes I hear things from people who, maybe don't want that information shared. But there's a lot going on with him right now personally, and I don't necessarily know if he's bought in to what the Dallas Mavericks are doing. He was clearly upset last year that they tanked towards the end of the season. He's clearly got some off-court stuff happening right now. So keep an eye on that. Like hiring Darko Rajakovic is going to help you in certain respects. It's going to help you as a pathway to signing EuroLeague players because he's very well respected over there. He is associated with the Serbian head coach, with the Serbian program as well. Over there, he's very well respected, and he's got a lot of connections, right? He's got connections to coaches who are coaching major clubs over there. So this sort of pathway, not only to poach potentially, end of bench talent like a Jorge Garbajosa, is having guys like that you maybe and I can share this with you for sure. I've talked to a lot of European players who maybe were good enough at points to come over and try. There's always how will they adjust? How will they adjust? And some of them, I've talked to them and they say, I don't know how I'm going to be used. I've got a good thing going here. So when there's no trust, that conversation becomes very difficult. But there's a lot of talent over there. So I wouldn't be surprised if Darko Rajakovic helps you in 3 or 4 different ways. It's a unique pipeline to Europe, especially Eastern Europe. It is a unique recruiting tool if ever Luka Dončić or Nikola Jokic ever sour in their situations, which I doubt Jokic ever would, but Dončić might. It could be an interesting recruiting tool also with free agents who are currently in the NBA, guys like Bogdanovic or the other Bogdanovic, right? It could also be an interesting way to have an insight or an inside track into draft evaluation. I apologize. My lighting is absolutely shit. I don't know why it's so bad. I don't know why it's so bad. I think it's because there's so much light coming in from here. Let me try to fix it a little bit. Oh. Okay, let's try this again. All right. So, I mean, is it something, nothing, or everything? I'd say it's something to watch. We'll see. We'll see what it turns into. But you'll need to get, like, I don't want to say what you're going to have to give to get Luka Dončić, but the conversation is going to start at one player, and I'm not interested if it starts at that one player. Yes, Luka's a hell of a player, but I'm not trading Scottie. So how could you do this lighting to us? Yeah, I'm pretty sure you're kidding, but I have difficulty, obviously, discerning sarcasm. Okay, on to the missed opportunity. Now, as you know, there is this quote from Daryl Morey. I believe it's from his book, and I believe it is from a book that was written by the same guy who wrote Moneyball, whose name I'm forgetting right now. But effectively, Daryl Morey said that in an ideal business environment in the NBA, you want 5 to 7 teams that don't know what they're doing, right? And chief among these teams that don't know what they're doing is the Houston Rockets, right? Couple things about that. I promise, this is not going to descend into Fred's shade. I just want to address this because it must be said. Actually, we'll address it at the end. To just address the specific missed opportunity, the Houston Rockets got rid of 3 first-round talents, all 3 of which I think have more NBA potential down the line than Dalano Banton. And they got rid of KJ Martin. Did they get rid of them for future firsts? No, they did not. They got rid of them for basically salary dump, like second-round picks. I don't even know what they got for them. Just cap relief, a future prospect that's never going to play. They just wanted cap relief. Okay. Usman Garuba, Josh Christopher, Ty Washington. Ty, Usman, and Josh Christopher have one thing in common. All 3 of them were at some point in the draft cycle mocked as lottery picks. I'm not saying that means a lot because Marvin Bagley once went second. I get that. But I am saying that I've watched enough Rockets games last year because I was deeply curious about Daishen Nix, Jabari Smith, Jalen Green, Alperen Şengün. I like their young roster. Not in the sense that I liked what they were doing with it. Stephen Silas messed up really badly. Sorry, I got a lot of feedback from last night's live, and people were very upset that I was swearing so much. So I'm trying not to swear a little bit because if it bothers people, it obviously doesn't add very much. So I'm trying. But I think that those 3 players in total would have been like $6 million. Are you telling me that you couldn't have done a sign and trade for Fred VanVleet and just absorbed $6 million for 3 late first round picks, all of whom are under 23, all of whom have potential? Josh Christopher is close friends with Scottie Barnes. You would have another Scottie guy on your team. I don't know if they asked. I don't know if they were rebuffed. I don't know if they were rejected. But wouldn't y'all feel like way better about this Fred moving on to Houston thing, just from a psychological perspective, even from a PR perspective, if you could have gotten at least 3 young players back? Now, there is a complete possibility that Masai Ujiri and Bobby Webster do not believe in any of those prospects, but I highly doubt it. Usman Garuba checks so many boxes for this team, and so does Josh Christopher. Ty is a little bit small, but I mean, you just signed Dennis Schroeder. I'm sorry, Ty Washington or Malachi Flynn. I take Ty Washington. Sorry, I watched him play last year. I mean, he didn't get to play. He didn't get an opportunity. They played Daishen Nix so many minutes, and then they waived him. Like, I don't understand what Houston is doing, but I tell you, it is not good. I will get to that. I'll get to the Rockets pod guy and also JJ Reddick as well, talking about Dillon Brooks. I'll talk about it at the end. Okay. Moving on. Next point. I'm going way too slow. This is supposed to be a quick hitter. I don't know how Ben Rogers does this, but it's got to go fast, man. All right. Michael Grange. An interesting player to monitor as the NBA's transaction market heats up is Raptors Pascal Siakam. Keep hearing his name out there per multiple sources. The dreaded multiple sources. Atlanta's still interested. Something to watch. Hey, man. Thank you so much. I am real. Appreciate it, man. Appreciate the super chat. Pascal Siakam is very likely the player being dangled in almost all trade talks. Okay. I know some people don't want to hear that, and they're going to call it Pascal hate. This is not Pascal hate. This is reality of a uncomfortable situation. Let me frame the situation for you. The situation is as follows. You have a max eligible player who may or may not want to hold out on signing that max extension because he may choose to bet on whether or not he can get all NBA this year and then sign a supermax. He may, however, consider it disrespectful or disloyal if you do not offer him the maximum amount that he is eligible for. Now, I had heard before DeMar was traded, this was about a few months before he was traded, that they had a real issue paying him out the rest of his contract, that they didn't think he was worth it, but they had held on to the asset. And of course, emotions run high after you get swept the way that the Raptors did that year. But I think it's worth noting that, yes, sometimes a player simply exceeds the value that you're willing to pay them long term. You just don't value the asset as much. As much as Masai Ujiri and Bobby Webster are really good dudes and really, decent human beings, there is a certain way where you look at a guy who you may value, at least analytically, as a $28 million to $27 million impact guy. You may be willing to pay that guy 33, but the minute you start extending into 50, like you start getting into like, well, we're now paying you almost twice of what you're worth due to loyalty. And loyalty only goes so far. So, look, the Raptors have always shown a very good track record of taking care of their players. And I think that this is a two-parter. So let me just get into this. Let me get into both. Why did the Raptors not trade Fred VanVleet at the trade deadline? I think most of us legitimately want to know, because it's ridiculous, right? How could you not get something back for this guy? Consider the optics of trading a guy for a future second round pick and trading him to Milwaukee and getting Grayson Allen back. Now consider the double optics here that he may not actually start in Milwaukee. Now, okay, considering maybe he starts, but his numbers might have tanked. It also really tanks his value if you send him to a team and the return on him just 4 months before he hits free agency was Grayson Allen and a second round pick. It's one thing for us to pontificate on what was effectively offered for him, right? It's another thing to legitimately trade the dude for Grayson Allen and a second round pick. Now, everything about the NBA is optics, okay? And I'm going to get into that right now. And I think it's a really interesting discussion on optics. But I don't think that you do Fred VanVleet a favor by trading him for garbage. And since Grayson Allen is a really dirty player, I don't feel too bad calling that package garbage. But consider the optics of dealing, even like it has happened multiple times with the Raptors. Kyle Lowry, right? Do you want to move Kyle Lowry at the deadline to a team that he does not feel comfortable playing for because they're giving you the most, right? Do you feel comfortable doing that? Well, given what happened with DeMar DeRozan and the fallout of that, and right or wrong, you can call it a business, you can call it whatever you want, but the emotion that you felt with Masai Ujiri, it never felt right for him. All year, he carried that pain of, oh no, I betrayed DeMar. This is what happens when you get really close to players, okay? This is what happens when you start calling it a family. This is what happens when you, unfortunately, let guys get too comfortable. But how else do you build the type of culture and chemistry that the Raptors have built? Guys can't always be on edge. Are they going to trade me? Are they not going to trade me? Are they telling me the truth? Are they not telling me the truth? You want to start with truth. You want to start with integrity. But sometimes the truth is difficult. The truth is you're worth $27 million to us. If you ask for $1 more, we got to trade you. Do you want to sign this extension? Because we might have to trade you at some point. Be straight about it. I think people respect that. I don't know if Masai's a straight shooter, but I do suspect that he's a really good person. And maybe an empath. If you've listened to any of his talks about Africa, you can feel this dude. You can feel that he cares. And you can imagine how much a guilty conscience he might have if he had traded Fred VanVleet and Fred VanVleet turned around and his entire free agency market tanked because he was a bad fit in Milwaukee, gets benched, something like that. And now he has set a guy who's given him extreme value on a really like discount contract for years. I can't stand this lighting. Hang on. I don't know what the hell's going on there. Sorry, guys. I'll turn it on like when the light goes down. It's this weird time of day where the light is changing all the time. It still looks so stupid. Anyway, sorry guys. I'm gonna have to clip this part out. Let me just write this down. Bear with me for a minute. I can't keep doing this with the lighting so stupid. Hang on. Is that better? I think that's better. Okay. I'm not blinded by it anymore. The lighting was perfect last live. I agree. It was perfect, but I'm right next to a window and I don't have blackout blinds. I got to fix this place up. Anyway, okay. I think that's a little bit better. Sorry. Just really messed up lighting. Okay. So I genuinely believe that there was some serious consideration paid to, this guy he's grown with us. He's like a friend, business partner. You got to treat it this way. And if you're going to view it that way, then you want to set him up so that he's also in a good situation because this is his family. Now, if you're close to Shanti, if you're close to his kids, you really want to cost this guy $20-30 million because you want a second round pick in Grayson Allen. The bigger picture of this, the fallout of this, especially when you do this to a clutch client, they don't forget. They don't forget. Okay. So you have to consider the fallout of something like this. DeMar DeRozan went on every show saying Masai Ujiri snaked him. Do you know the impact that had? Masai Ujiri may say that, he said that Tampa cost them like 5 years. And I didn't understand that statement when he said it. And I don't think it was Tampa that cost him 5 years. I think what cost us 5 years is that championship, man. Give up pick after pick. You allow the value of both Pascal and Fred to go so up because now they're NBA champions. And you lose all these assets for nothing because they're older guys. And frankly, you can become like that guy, like the process, where you trading guys away like they're nothing. You can become the Houston Rockets where you're just discarding these guys. You don't care about them. But players talk, man. It's a fraternity. It's 450 players, and they all talk. The Raptors snaked Fred VanVleet, cost him $40-50 million. You know how long it's taken the Boston Celtics to undo the damage of they snaked Isaiah Thomas? Now, you could say Isaiah, blame Isaiah, blame himself, whatever. But I think these things carry. And when you're not a marquee market, like you're not New York, you're not a legacy franchise, like you're not the Lakers, you're not Boston, these things really do separate you. The Raptors have been, let's call it, the upper class of the league since Masai, I want to say since We the North year 2. This has been a consistent run of stability, reputational stability around the NBA. Why? They develop guys, they pay guys, they get guys paid. This is what matters here. And they tend to win a lot. This matters a lot when it comes to negotiating deals. It matters a lot when it comes to pushing draft prospects your way. You don't know, and I'll tell you the truth. You don't know if Grady Dick's agent pushed him to Toronto because he knew that there was an opening and a fit here. You don't know that. You don't know what his interview was like with OKC. Did he tank his workout? Did he skip a workout with the Orlando Magic because he didn't want to go there? He didn't see a fit for him. Guys do this all the time. I know this year they started this whole thing where they kind of have to share their medicals with everyone. I don't know if they started this year or it's going to start next year. But I can tell you very firmly that when the Houston Rockets had the number 2 pick and they had Jalen Suggs, 2 of the top 6 players in that draft refused to work out for them. At least 2. I think more. So they don't want to give them the medicals. They didn't want to come to Houston. And they couldn't force them. Now, I still don't think you can force players to work out for you. You really want to be in that situation where people hate you? I don't think so. So there is a trade-off. So when we look at Masai got nothing for Fred, we blanket statement it. Please be aware that these things have to be at least partially negotiated. Yes, you could send Pascal Siakam to Charlotte right now. You could. You definitely could. But if he is telling you he absolutely doesn't want to go there, and somehow he goes there, and you don't extend him, and he wanted that Supermax, and something happens there where his value drops, this is going to be the story among all agents. They said they wouldn't, they did. You can't break promises in this business. It is a people business. So I just wanted to say that yes, I think Pascal Siakam will be shopped. Yes, I think he has been shopped multiple times over the last 2 years. And yes, I do believe he will be traded. But I believe he will be extended first, then traded. And if he is not extended first and then traded, I think he will be sent to a team of his, somewhat of his preference. That at some point, if the situation becomes untenable, that he will be asked for a similar thing as Dame of, hey, where do you want to go? These are 5 or 6 teams looking at you. Give us top 3. We'll try to accommodate you. We'll meet you halfway a little bit. All right. What's happening with Dame Lillard? Let's talk about it. I hope that's the next slide. It might not be the next slide. We might have to just move on from this. It is the next slide. Perfect. The Damian Lillard situation is getting really, really ugly in Portland. He wants out. He expected some loyalty back. He's having floods of fans sending him messages. I'll show you some. I'll show you one of them at least when we go through the socials towards the end of this live. I think this is exactly where, other teams are watching what you do to this guy. And there is a serious problem sometimes when you have a personality like this, because he's bigger than life, yo. Players respect him a lot. You're not doing this to Nerlens Noel. You're not doing this to Dwight Powell. No, you're doing this to Dame Lillard. Leaky organizations do things like this all the time. First of all, they're doing damage control right now. They want their fan base, because they know he's gone. They know he's leaving. They know he's requested a trade. They want their fan base to know that they tried to accommodate him, because in the other way, he's kind of saying, y'all didn't put you didn't put someone around me. And so now it sort of taints the franchise's opinion of the team and supporting the team. So I think this becomes a war for public perception. And to be honest, I think the Portland Trailblazers are losing that war very, very much. But perhaps look at the other side. Beggars can't be choosers. I don't think it's right for Dame to basically force their hand and say, I'm going to one place and one place only. And that's, of course, the rumor. But how did that rumor come out? That is the question I think Dame's camp needs to ask. Who leaked that? Because if you leak that, he sounds really, really unreasonable. Sounds kind of petty, ungrateful. I mean, we can say he was loyal, but at the end of the day, they still signed him to like a $60 million contract extension. They didn't have to do that. And he was going to be 35, 36 at the end of that contract. I mean, there's skin on both sides. Okay. But I think that the Portland Trailblazers stand to look bad regardless. Whether they look stupid for signing Jeremy Grant to that money or they look bad for trading Dame, this isn't a situation that's going to be a lot of winners. I just hope this doesn't taint his legacy in Portland. He has been a great player. I have listened. Some of y'all noticed yesterday that there was a certain YouTuber that was on my search because someone had told me that he had gone off on Dame, calling him a loser, and I just wanted to hear the rationale. Damian Lillard is not a loser. I don't care what you say. I really don't. He's not a loser. Losing players have a mentality. They have a certain set of habits. Damian Lillard is not a loser. Damian Lillard may not be an NBA champion. Charles Barkley is not an NBA champion. There's a lot of guys who are not NBA champions, but he's not a loser. Is Steve Nash a loser? I don't think so. And Dame is a professional, and he's a really good dude and one of the best dudes in the NBA. He does a lot of work for that community. He's as real as they fucking come. He's a great teammate. He's really nurtured. Like, to those of you who don't like Fred VanVleet, he's like really not like Fred VanVleet in a lot of ways. He's also like Fred VanVleet in a lot of ways. He's a family guy. He's, he loves his family, he loves his kids and all that stuff. But I'm saying, like, in the, for the young kids on that roster, they develop. And if the Raptors can get him for Pascal Siakam, if that is even remotely on the table, that would be great. On the Raptors show, they broke down something. We'll share that later. But, I am firmly for making a deal for this guy. Also, may I just say that I think Damian Lillard to Toronto was first approached on this channel, right? Is there any other place that was talking about this? I don't mean to cry about this, but like, I don't get it. Like, they trash it initially. People trash it. They say there's no way this is going to happen. And the next thing you know, everyone's talking Dame to Toronto, Dame to Toronto. There are people from the Athletic saying Dame is like a sleeper. We're going to look at that too. Toronto is a sleeper pick for Dame. It's just, I don't know. And these videos are not being seen by that many people. It's 9,000 people that watch that video. Like, it's not like I'm not Jimmy High Roller. I'm not influencing mass culture here, but I just don't understand why it's so stupid when I say it. And then a day later, when you say it, it's news. I don't get it. Personally, I'm kind of confused about that. Anyway. And for the record, no, I would not trade Scottie Barnes for Damian Lillard. This is just a quick shout out. I just want to say congrats to Brooke and Robin for ending up on the same team. Brooke and Robin Lopez ending up on the Milwaukee Bucks. This may be both their last year or one of their last years in the NBA. They came into the NBA together on different teams. To my recollection, they've played together. Never. Did they ever play together? I can't remember, but they're back on the same team. So that's kind of cool. They're twins, both really good dudes. Robin is like one of the funniest, I think, people in the NBA. And I don't think he gets enough credit for it. And he's like a really funny personality. So I think it's a really good thing for Milwaukee. Obviously, having them on the same team may have been part of, because I don't know. I was kind of confused whether Robin was going to get another NBA contract this year. No shade. So maybe that was kind of a package deal. So that's cool. I can't stand those guys. Why? They're awesome, man. They're really cool dudes. Or you talking about Gary Trent's headband with Brooke? Yeah. Retractions. Okay, I made some mistakes yesterday, y'all, and I want to address them very honestly. Number one, I'm not an Instagram aficionado. Okay, I just want to start with that. I legit went and counted Fred VanVleet's likes, and on the live, I said, dude has 102 likes 4 hours in. Someone messaged me after saying, bro, the guy has 92,000 likes on that post. So I went and checked again, and I counted again. It's 102. So Instagram is just not showing the likes. I don't know. I'm not seeing them on my end. I don't know how y'all seeing 92,000, but I just want to correct that. He had a lot of likes on that post. His comments are limited. I'm sure he would have had a lot of nasty comments on the post if it was allowed, but he has comments limited on his socials. probably because of everything that's been happening. There is also a rumor that's been circulating around all day. I've seen so many places pick it up that Scottie Barnes unfollowed Fred VanVleet on socials. Y'all heard this? Let me know in the chat. You heard this? Have you seen it? Some accounts don't get to see how many likes just randomly. Okay. Yeah. So I just want to clarify. Scottie unfollowed Fred a long time ago. I don't know why this is everywhere today, and it's just like it's acting like Scottie's some baby who unfollowed him because he went off or something. Or I don't know if it helps. I have no idea. But if it hurts, well, like it's not true. I promise you, I checked. Like I checked 5 months ago when I talked about this for the first time. He unfollowed him. He unfollowed him when Fred unfollowed everybody. Scottie unfollowed him, and Fred unfollowed him back, and he never followed him back. So, or Fred followed him. I can't remember who followed who, but I know he has not been following Fred VanVleet for a long time. It's like 5 months now. Also does not follow Thaddeus Young. So yeah, I just want to clarify that it didn't just happen. And then there's some dude, on Facebook saying it definitely just happened. Wait, what's another retraction that I want to issue? There were more. I listened to that live again today, and I was like, wait a second. A brief note on parasocial relationships. I did forget to include the definition of parasocial, and I think that it is worth noting that in order for a relationship to be purely parasocial, the person who is the object of the quote unquote affection is not aware of the person who is, apparently having this parasocial relationship. So for instance, like, I don't know, Erica plays here, right? If she starts sharing all of Pensar Basketball's posts, like she would just be a fan. She wouldn't be having a parasocial relationship with this channel or me because I'm perfectly aware of who she is. You know what I mean? So if you know Scottie Barnes, you're in the clear, apparently, according to the dictionary. I just want to say that. What else? Okay. I think that's it for retractions, isn't it? Shit. I should have written that down. Okay. I will retract more if anything comes up. Now, in terms of a Pascal Siakam trade, one team that just keeps coming up is Atlanta. I think the lighting is fine now. Thank you. The lights, the light's gone down. Hold on. Let me try to turn this light on. One sec. All right. We're back to somewhat normal lighting at 37 minutes. Shit. All right. Okay. So I think Kobe Buffkin was definitely a Raptor target. Seems like a very Raptor-y player, right? Just felt like the type of player that they would definitely sorry, I'm trying to read this. Still unsigned, yes. JC Dero Light made a fourth quarter comeback. It did. Yeah, this live won't be too long. I think we're going to go about an hour, so it's about 22 minutes left. I think the Atlanta Hawks have a very interesting package here, and I think the Portland Trailblazers are the other side of it. Now, Michael Grange and the dude from, the Portland Trailblazers, I think the Rose Watch or something like that, Rose Garden Watch, he was on. So I listened to the Will Lou Raptor show today, and Michael Grange was on. He was, doing his usual thing, and he mentioned that OG and Anunoby. I don't know if it was he mentioned or the guy from it. All these reporters kind of run together, but it was the same episode, and they're talking about how OG is the guy that Portland wanted. Apparently the Raptors offered OG and Anunoby up, but they wanted the 7th pick last summer when all those rumors were flying off. The 7th pick, Josh Hart, Nasir Little, and a future first. That was the package. And the Portland Trailblazers walked away from that and took Shaedon Sharpe instead, which apparently, pissed off Dame Lillard because apparently, according to these people, Damian Lillard is a really big fan of OG Anunoby, really wanted him to come to Portland for a very long time. And it's quite understandable, from the from the Portland side, why you would walk from that. That's a hell of a haul. It's a really big asset haul. 7th overall pick plus Josh Hart plus Nasir Little plus a first. Like, wow, that's tough. So I fully understand why Portland walked away from it. I like OG. I do. But let's be real here. I think sometimes Masai Ujiri maybe thinks way too much of the players on his roster, Scottie included, probably. I agree with him on Scottie, but I think objectively, you might think that another GM may not value Scottie Barnes, Pascal Siakam, OG Anunoby, or Fred VanVleet the way he does, unless that general manager is Raphael Stone. So I think Atlanta may be a really good landing spot here. I think DeJounte Murray fits. Again, you're bringing in another point guard. Scottie gets moved off the ball. Again, I'm kind of like, he's going to be expensive. He's an expiring contract. So do you maybe not do that and just try to get the youngest assets possible so that Atlanta can pair Trae Young, DeJounte Murray, and Pascal Siakam now that they have a somewhat of an availability with John Collins on another team? And is that the goal? Is that the trade that's being worked out? Because Kobe Buffkin and AJ Griffin will be a hell of a youth player haul. Like, that is pretty much your bench. Like, you could replenish all the talent and youth on this team in one move. It might explain, by the way, why Dalano Banton moved on. If you want my opinion, it might explain everything. Because a deal with Atlanta, if it is really in the finalized stages of we're just waiting for something to click or haggling on a couple of second round picks, if that deal is in its initial or final frameworks, and I don't see why it's not, if the deal is just being held up at this point by Pascal's end, where they're trying to figure out like what they're going to do with his contract, trying to talk to his people, trying to work a third team into it, these things happen. Where a deal is agreed in principle by two teams, somehow it doesn't leak. And I don't think Landry Fields is a very leaky guy, right? And I don't think the Raptors have dealt with the Hawks yet, but I have a feeling that, just from seeing Landry Fields as a Raptor and just kind of getting a sense of him as a general manager so far, that I think that they're a pretty good organization in terms of keeping things in-house. So you might actually not realize this, but the Siakam deal might already be done. And we're just waiting for a certain tick or a certain third team to take a certain contract off. We don't know that. But I do know that Kobe Buffkin has not been signed, and almost every other first-round pick has. And I do know that the rumors of Siakam being shipped off have been intensifying a lot. And I also know that, myself included, but a lot of Raptor fans really had their hearts set on Kobe Buffkin on draft night. This would be a hell of a haul. You consider moving forward with Gary Trent, Scottie Barnes, OG Anunoby, Grady Dick, and you get AJ Griffin, and you get Kobe Buffkin, like Precious Achua, Christian Coloco. Like, you're young again. Like, your youth is back. You got blue chip prospects. AJ Griffin was supposed to be a lottery pick, yo. He slipped because of his injury. He's a really good player. If you can get AJ and Kobe, then I take back everything I said about Josh Christopher and Ty Washington. Those guys are not in the same class. So, and we can stop crying tears about Dalano Banton, because that is a hell of a haul. Now, you might say, well, Pascal Siakam's a hell of a haul. Depends on where you are. Depends on where you are in the youth cycle. It depends on where you are. But Michael Grange, to his credit, perhaps, and perhaps, it's tough for some people, not specifically Grange, but for a lot of people in the media space right now. And we talked about yesterday's live, what is media anyway? Like, what the hell is this thing we call media? Maybe it's tough to admit when somebody else that you don't like was right. I'm telling you for years, this is Scottie's team. The minute he got here, everything had to be about Scottie. And people were like, wait and see, wait and see, wait and see. And then last year he struggled. And I'm like, everything's still got to be about Scottie. Look, we've drawn a lot of criticism for saying Scottie needs the ball more. But I was saying that because I'm already here. Like, I'm talking in terms of where you're going to be in 2023 from 2021. You need to put the ball in this guy's hands. Now, you tell me right now you wouldn't be in a better situation if you'd given him the ball more last year and just seen what he could do with it. Of course you are, because we put the ball in his hands in several fourth quarters and he dominated. So now we know he can do that. We played him at point a lot more last year. So now we have a glimpse of what his weaknesses are there, what he needs to tighten up. Young players need reps. And if your guy that's ahead of this guy isn't a superstar, as you try to lie to yourself that he is because you have some misguided assumption that you owe him. This is a basketball game. This is a transaction. You're paying him millions of dollars to play basketball. You've gotten him a championship. You got him 2 all-star games, two all NBA berths. What are you doing here? You don't have to hijack a player's development that you think could be a superstar for a guy to try to prove that he is going to become one. I'm sorry. I never understood it. I never understood the development path line yesterday or last year. And I bitched about it the whole year. And I got called toxic and parasocial for it and unhinged. But I'm just here. And now it's like it's all accepted. Okay, yeah. It's going to be Scottie's team going forward. Well, why? What changed? Why not 5 months ago, 6 months ago, 8 months ago? I just don't get it, man. Like, I think it personally kind of bothers me that you call someone stupid or crazy or unhinged or whatever for having the exact same opinion that you had like 6 months before you had it. You know what I would call that person? I would call that person prophetic. I would call that person pretty smart. So I just don't understand why, you gotta kind of hurl the ass, because obviously if this thing is being built around Scottie, then what we did last year is a very big problem. And I hope y'all can address that at some point, right? It's 430 people in here. Like, I hope somebody who knows these people can just maybe, ask them to bridge the gap. Like, hey, you're accepting that this whole thing is like being built around Scottie now. So do you agree with that? If you do agree with that, where were you 6 months ago pushing for that as, guys are trying to push for contracts and shit? Did you think maybe the year could just be taken off? Like, I just don't understand it. Help me understand. Like, anyway, the Atlanta package is a good one. I've always liked that roster. Man, if you can get Onyeka Okongwu, I realize. And the reason that I say that things are being built around Scottie now, and well, really, I didn't say it. Grange said it, but I've been saying it for years at this point, is really because look at all the roster moves that are being made right now, right? Once Fred VanVleet left, I think he kind of took run it back plan A with him. Dennis Schroeder is not as good as Fred VanVleet. He may fit next to Scottie better than Fred VanVleet, but he's not Fred VanVleet. Pascal Siakam and Jakob Poeltl is a bit of an awkward fit next to Scottie Barnes. So I think that to some extent you start seeing more shooting, more movement shooting. You start seeing an adaptation of the plan that Brian and Scottie and all these and everyone was presenting to the Raptors management last year. Whereas basically like, this is how to best maximize this guy. Let's give it a shot. And I think to their credit, they believe in it. Maybe they felt some way about, y'all remember the tough talking to. Maybe Scottie Barnes got a tough talking to. And I openly questioned it on the lives. It's like, can you disclose whether that tough talking to was wait your turn? Or can you disclose, because the way it sounded was tough talking, you're not living up to your expectations. But maybe the tough talking to, again, hypothesis, tough talking to was, I understand that you're frustrated with how we're playing, but we're playing this way because these guys need to get paid. You know what I mean? Did Bufkin sign? When? Hang on, I gotta check this. I'm not seeing it. Oh, man. Damn. Literally minutes before the stream. All right. Move on. I would take AJ Griffin. I would definitely take Onyeka Okongwu now and maybe Bogdanovic. I don't know. Damn. Moving on to the next topic. My bad. We call it the Bufkin Watch, as during the live he signs up. Okay, let's go to the socials. There's some interesting stuff. Now, I don't know how many of y'all follow. Okay, first of all, like, did you guys catch this video in the beginning? I just want to say this is just a really nice thing that Scottie did for this kid. I just thought that was really nice. His camps have been going well. He did one in Toronto, U of T, and then he did one in West Palm Beach. It's really cool, man. That kid's going to be talking about crossing up an NBA player for the rest of his life. I know I'm still talking about like playing one-on-one. Like I've been talking about it for years. So I just think like that's such a cool thing, and the kid's always gonna be able to see that. So it's really cool. It is a class act for sure. Let me share my screen here. Okay. Now, let me know if you guys are following us on Instagram. So hang on. Okay, so check in our socials. Always an interesting thing. Okay. Honestly, really worth thinking about. This was the subject of my yesterday's live. Media. What the hell is media? Like in an age where you have NBA athletes who have their own podcasts, media is dead. I fully believe this. This is incredible growth for this channel. Honestly, we had 1 million views in 28 days. That's awesome. Thank you guys so much. Obviously, we've never released as many videos as we did this past year. So if you haven't subscribed, please hit subscribe. But yeah, it's been great. And honestly, what is it? Is it July 2nd or 3rd right now? I think it's 3rd. We've never had a more profitable first 2 days to start a month ever. Thank y'all for the super chats and stuff, even in this one. Like, this is crazy. This is crazy for me. You know, like some of my favorite basketball channels have 28 million views. You know what I mean? To do this in a month, that's nuts. Moving on. This was a little plug for GOAT. If you haven't subscribed to GOAT, definitely check it out. It's a really good basketball channel. I promise you, it's good. Do not believe. Like, let me show you how fast this channel grew. Like, do you see that? That's this year, January. Started with one video, and it's just grown and grown and grown, right? And it started with this incredible video that he did for Scottie, right? The untold story of Scottie Barnes. All right, this one, I'm gonna read y'all this one. It's different, and I promise you, it puts a final chapter on this whole Fred VanVleet bullshit. Obviously, Dalano Banton getting moved on. Jusuf Nurkic with the jokes, right? James Edwards works for the Athletic. The Raptors are my dark horse Dame team. Jusuf Nurkic responding with LMO, laugh my ass off. This one I do have something to say about. JJ Reddick, dude.
I want to say one thing about Dillon Brooks, because I said this when that report came out. I thought it was bullshit. Everybody spent a month clowning this guy. They clowned him during the Lakers series. They clowned him afterwards. They clowned him after the report.
I just want to be clear. Just because the Houston Rockets pay you $80 million to play basketball, it does not mean that people who are very critical of Dillon Brooks weren't right. I don't get where, like, it's so weird to listen to someone who's so clearly smart and so clearly knowledgeable about basketball, but he completely has an obsession with players who are deeply inefficient, and he can't see what other people see in these guys, which is kind of crazy because he was a really efficient player himself. Both his like entire take on Fred VanVleet, you know, being a really good defender in the playoffs, he was getting burned because he was unhealthy and he just couldn't admit it. And I just found that so weird. And I find it weird that he always refers to Fred as like one of the best point guards. Like he's firmly outside the top 10, dude. And now he's on this tip about Dillon Brooks. Yo, I gotta say this. Sometimes it's just okay to admit you're wrong. Like, Dillon Brooks is not worth 4 years, $80 million. I don't think that deal was there for him with anybody. He was also not the Rockets' first choice. I don't think they planned, in my opinion, I don't think they planned to give him 4 years, $80 million. But when Brook Lopez backs out and that money opens up, and he's kind of got them by the balls, because they are honestly the NBA's stepchild. Like, they're the ugly stepchild in the NBA. People do not want to play there, and people do not want to play in Houston. Okay? Sorry, in Houston and in Detroit. These two markets, no offense intended, but these are not two teams that people are dying to play for. And Cade and Jalen Green are not getting anybody excited. Okay. And I didn't talk about this yesterday, but I'm going to talk about it today, because before I close the chapter on the Fred VanVleet thing, I got to say one more thing. There is a serious consequence when it comes to paying a guy that much money who's not quite good enough to warrant that much money. How do I know this? I'll tell you where I learned this, and it's a really, really random thing. I learned this from wrestling. I learned this from watching WCW bankrupt itself. Guys count each other's money all the time. They know what these guys are getting paid, especially in companies where the public reporting requires you to report what the guy is making. I mean, it's not private that Fred VanVleet is making $43 million a year. So every single person that you sign from that point on is now anchored to the value of Fred VanVleet. It doesn't change the market in the NBA. It changes the market on your team. A take that I have not heard anywhere else, so you get it first here. My thank you to you for supporting this channel. Think about it really well. You are Brook Lopez, okay? You have a firm belief that you are at least 90% as valuable or as good as Fred VanVleet, if not exactly as good as Fred VanVleet based on your defense last year. But because you're a little bit older, you will accept that if Fred VanVleet is worth $43 million to you, I need at least $25 million to be here. I'm not taking $15 million if you paid this guy 43. Maybe Dylan Brooks had a very similar argument, because I don't think it was, hey, Simon, and look, and then the other point is your negotiation tactics are now dead in the water, because people aren't exactly dying to play with Fred VanVleet. And I just want to be real about that. There are some players in the NBA that people are really, really, really like excited to play with. And then there's some players that maybe people are not so excited to play with. They're not walking in the same circles. What's an example of a player that people are really excited to play with? DeMar DeRozan. DeMar DeRozan is a really good example of a player that people are really excited to play with. Paul George is another one, really well liked by a lot of NBA players. There are some guys like that. Then there are some guys who are kind of like weirdo outcasts. You know, they're kind of like, they didn't grow up in the AAU circuit. They weren't around the same dudes. They're not representing the same agency. They haven't really made any efforts to kind of connect with those guys, right? Maybe they didn't grow up in this, right? You enter the league from all different angles. Some guys enter from from JUCO. Some guys enter from Division II. Some guys, Duncan Robinson is just never going to be as connected in the NBA as Scottie Barnes. A guy like Scottie Barnes, who met almost all your next wave of stars, or was a guy that he looked up to. Like, you look at a guy, like you look at the two of the top picks this year, number 11, Jet Howard, number 9, Taylor Hendricks. Like, they looked up to Scottie. He was like the best player on their team. He was their star. He was the best player in Florida. Like, you got to look at this from that perspective, that they have a connection with him. And because he's not antisocial, he kept those connections. And these connections last when you're coming down to recruiting. You look at a guy like Dwayne Wade is the perfect example of a guy who's just stupidly connected around the NBA. Everyone likes him. Everyone knows him. He's super chill, and he's able to recruit. It's a skill. It's a massive skill. I don't know how connected Fred VanVleet is, but I will tell you this. I don't think I've ever heard, other than Kevin Durant paying him props and people just giving him props like, hey, good for that undrafted guy. I don't think I've ever heard of someone saying, if we could just get Fred here, this would be over. You know what I mean? Like, people feel that way about Bradley Beal for whatever reason, right or wrong, it doesn't matter. People just be like, bro, if we can get Brad Beal here, shit's done. Bradley Beal is another example of a guy that people just want to play with. You know what I mean? I think you get it. So there's a consequence when you make Fred VanVleet your franchise cornerstone, even if it's for 2 years, even if we believe that the third year is a team option, which I've heard several times, but I'd like to see it confirmed. So that's a consequence. Now, on to something that a Rockets podcaster said. And someone forwarded me this Rockets take yesterday, and I don't remember who it was, but someone on Instagram said, hey, watch this. And I watched it, and I watched this guy with a very straight face defending the contract that Fred VanVleet signed based on Raptor. An advanced stat that is a one metric stat in which Fred VanVleet ranked 13th in the NBA last year. Guys ahead of him included guys like Nikola Jokic, Luka Dončić, I think Donovan Mitchell, Jalen Brunson. It was an elite list. There were no scrubs on that list. Guys around him were also not scrubs. So, I mean, they weren't all the best players. There were some people missing, but you had guys like Darius Garland. You didn't have like a random aberration. Like you didn't have like Malachi Flynn showing up. You know what I mean? You didn't have Ben Simmons showing up. You didn't have something like that. And so this guy went on to insist that because Fred VanVleet ranks so highly in Raptor, this esteemed stat, that it must mean that the Rockets got the 13th best player in the NBA for this max contract. And I could tell, based on how he was talking about this advanced stat, Raptor, whether he references Raptor, Darko, LeBron, whatever, that he had just heard of it. That this was something that he was pretty much just telling himself to make himself feel better about the hidden value of Fred VanVleet. Now, I want to be clear. There are so many advanced stats that prioritize minutes. Let me make it as clear as I possibly can. If you are a player who handles the ball a lot, takes a lot of threes, doesn't take a lot of long twos, doesn't turn the ball over a lot, and somehow with you holding that role, your team is generally positive on the possessions battle, like you're generally winning the game when you're in the game, more so that your backup is absolutely horrible. If you combine all of these factors, you will have a beastly advanced stat profile. Guaranteed. You don't have to be talented enough to be a superstar. It's basically like gaming the system against itself, because advanced stats don't measure a lot of things. They don't actually properly or accurately measure defensive impact for a person, like a player. It's very difficult. It's very easy to hide your negative impact if you have really good defenders on the court with you. It takes for granted that if you are on the court, right? If you're on the court and the team is better with you on the court than off the court, then typically it's going to consider you a positive defensive player. There are various ways to measure all of this, but I tell you, the eye test does not lie on this, and you got to watch it with your eyes to see it. There's a lot of limitations in his game, and if they are setting up that fan base to expect the 13th best player next year, and they are going to be sorely disappointed. So I take issue with that, and I take issue with what JJ Reddick said here too. It's faulty logic.
If you got a teammate
I love this,
not making shots, but is a good shooter, okay? Just because they miss a shot, you make the same play the next time.
Can you tell that she kind of comes from the Darko Rajakovic school of thought? It's perfect. Mason Plumlee, 1 year, $5 million. Honestly, I can't even believe this. I was comparing Mason as a kind of homeless man, not even a homeless man, like a 90% watered down Jakob Poeltl. This kind of puts into perspective what centers are worth in the market, yo. And I realized that the freaking Chicago Bulls overpaid for Nikola Vucevic, so they kind of set the market for centers unofficially. And so you kind of ended up having to pay Jakob like 4 years, $80 million. And maybe it's an okay thing, but I'm kind of thinking to myself now, like, would I be a little bit more comfortable if we were paying him 4 years, $60 million? I think I would. I really still hope that contract's front loaded, man. He is an impactful player, but he is an interesting player in the sense that from the perspective of building a team with him on it, there are certain hindrances also. There are also a lot of benefits, playmaking, etc., that you don't typically get from the center spot. But the inability to just get out of the paint, I am very curious to see how that will work for the Raptors. But I'm optimistic. Dennis Schroeder, having his little welcome post, which was really cool. I just love this. Like the way that he is, like he and Scottie are just going to be the vibe this year. It was like he's swaggy. This is a letter that a fan wrote to Damian Lillard. If you've ever wanted to know the type of person Damian Lillard is, just hear this. I'm going to read it for you. So A. Kizzle says, can you please relay this message to Damian Lillard, please? Letter to Dame. You've taught me countless life lessons through your tenure in Portland as a Blazer. I remember being sick with the flu during a rookie season and watching the Blazers-Pelicans game. And then you hit a filthy game winner. At the moment, I knew we had someone special. As a rookie, you had the courage to put the city team on your back for that last shot. You've taught me fearlessness, hard work, and especially loyalty. Our organization is dog shit, and we were never going to put stars around you. I had hoped that we would have gotten role players to surround you with, but it wasn't in the cards, as you probably know. I love you, man, and I wish you nothing but the best for you and your family. Would have loved to see your kid go through entire K through 12 at OES, but I know he'll be a stud wherever he goes. I also recall your second year in the league when you wrote a letter to my friend Otis while he was hospitalized. Man, you are one of the best athletes who I know, who is a great human being, been through and through. I'm not only a Blazers fan, but I'm always a Damian Lillard fan. Top 75 for a motherfucking reason. All respect. Straight up. Most solid dude.
Something done with OG. I think that would have been enough to get Dame to say, okay, we're good here.
I think my point
but
is,
because
point
that's a
stands.
guy that Dame has wanted for a while. And honestly, if he were to go to Toronto, I think part of the appeal for him would be playing with OG, because that's
what did I say? When everyone was saying, yo, we got to trade, what would you trade OG? And I'm like, yo, like, how Damian Lillard without OG doesn't work here. Like, we need to keep OG. And for our sake, I would like us to keep Scottie. This is a nice little picture of Grady Dick. And I mean, I was just going to say this is a picture of the Dicks, but okay. Tamberlin, if you're watching this. So friend Tamberlin suggested, Rob, have you considered getting a media pass this year? And I may have a couple of ways in. One of them has already been shut down. We will see. It is very hard to get a media pass for the Raptors, but I think I may have an in. I may. Let's see. I'm going to reach out to my friend at Serbian TV and see if they'll let me be their ambassador. Oh, they're going to freak out when I show up and be like, oh, no, he got in through Serbian TV. I mean, they got to let Serbian TV access this. Is the first, as a second Serbian head coach in NBA history. Are they gonna say no? That would be weird. So I'm going to reach out to them tomorrow and see what they say. But that's going to be fun. But I just want to let you know, these are the types of questions that I'm going to ask if I get it. Okay. So, hey, Scottie, how'd you feel about the offense last year? Next question. Hey, Scottie, does Carty know more about basketball than Doug Smith? That's Carty is his dog. That would pretty much be my entire. That would be it. Okay. Now I want to get this out of the way. Wait a second. No, I closed it and I wasn't supposed to close it. There's something I wanted to talk about before I close up this live. Hang on. 1 sec. It's got to do with Twitter. Hang on. Video file, share screen. Okay. All right. So there was something really disturbing that happened on Twitter today, and I really didn't want to give this more attention than it deserves, but it's been going around for a really long time, and I just want to address it because it's really messed up. It's really messed up. Okay. So there's two things that I want to address. First of all, before I get to the parting notes on Fred VanVleet, hang on. Number one is hang on, where is it? Here we go. Okay, so Butt Crack Sports. Okay, so Butt Crack Sports had a meme, right? I don't know if y'all can see it, but it says the Toronto Raptors have applied for an NBA disabled player exception worth $10.2 million for Scottie Barnes, who is expected to play the entire season, sources tell Butt Crack Sports. This entire commentary is because of a video clip of Scottie kind of running funny and during one of his lives saying, bruh, you know, and just kind of mumbling his words a little bit. I find this really hurtful. I'm just being honest. Like, I find it hurtful, not only as a Scottie Barnes fan, but as someone who's on the spectrum. I think it's ridiculous. And I've been seeing this circulated so many times on Instagram, Twitter, Reddit. Please stop. Like, I understand that you don't like this player, or maybe you're 12 years old, or maybe you're 2 years old. You would have to be pretty stupid to find this funny. But degrading somebody who is fully not on the spectrum, from what I can tell, because they run funny, and who knows why he was running funny that moment, and calling them autistic and disabled is insulting to disabled people. It's very insulting. It's also insulting to him. So I suggest that when you see these posts, and I'm going to encourage all of you and whoever watches this, please report it. Okay? Just, it takes 1 minute. Just report it. It is harassment. It is ridiculous. It's one thing to say, I don't like this player. Don't report that. They have a right to not like your favorite player. It's one thing to say he sucks. But this is really hurtful to somebody that is on the spectrum. And I'm just saying it, like, I'm not sure if right now, like I'm not hurt. Obviously, there's very immature people on Twitter, but it's very wrong. It's very wrong. A lot of people are on the spectrum. A lot of people, increasingly. And to stigmatize it this way, that someone just cracking a joke on the stream makes them autistic, is very messed up. The second thing that I want to address very quickly is I have noticed a certain segment of fans who are very convinced that I am not a Raptor fan. This has been perpetuated by small channels, large channels, chat chains, Real GM, Reddit, etc. They're like, this guy's here to destroy the Raptors. He doesn't like the Raptors. He's just a Scottie fan. He's not really a Raptor fan. I want to dispel that right now, because shit's loud. And I just want you guys, when you see it, to be able to point them to a tweet that proves that I am a Raptor fan. So Christian Coloco is too smart to be a rookie. Y'all remember this video? That was this past year. Okay. Thaddeus Young is so boring, it's beautiful.
With the 12th pick in the 2000.
I love this video, by the way.
How about Thaddeus Young?
And the real bombshell, where is it? Then there was this OG Anunoby, the beginning mixtape from 2 years ago.
I mean, is your imagination kind of taken off? Like you go, oh, I could really, I'm not even halfway there yet.
Oh, for sure, yeah. Like, I know this is just beginning.
Fire, right? And here's something crazy. This is a blast from the past. This is 16 years ago. Are you ready for this? Wait, can you guys not see this? Uh-oh. Sorry, guys. I opened
doing pretty well, Chuck.
I would think so. Still a tender 21 years young in his third year out of Georgia Tech.
My point is, I was a Raptor fan when Scottie was 2 years old. Actually, I was a Raptor fan exactly. I became a Raptor fan. Oh, wow. Y'all just realized something. I became a Raptor fan a month before Scottie was born. 2001, right? He's born in 2001? Yeah. I became a Raptor fan in 2001. That's crazy. Maybe I am just a Scottie fan because I pretty much became a fan around when he was born. So that's it. Y'all have the confirmation there. My point is, shut up with this stuff, man. I support this team. All right. Yeah, there's a couple of guys who I felt were kind of in the way of something great that I was seeing happening. It does not mean you're warranted. This guy specifically, Alexi Otts, this dude, Raptors freak, whatever. Hey, he's here to destroy our team, man. This guy's so fucking weird, bro. So weird. And it's just a lot of people pick up on that stuff. And when people start saying things, they start believing them. I just wanted to prove that's not true. Okay. Just proving it. And wait, yeah. Anyway, pull that off. Now, Fred VanVleet. Okay. I'm glad this is coming right at the end. This is my open letter to Fred VanVleet. And I realized that he didn't need to hear this from me or whatever, but I felt like this was a good way to close the chapter. Dear Fred, thank you for working hard as you did to become the player that you became. It's inspiring, and I'd like to share some of my most positive thoughts and memories of you as a Raptor. As a young hooper myself who couldn't dunk, wasn't the tallest, wasn't the fastest, wasn't always sure of myself, didn't have the longest arms, I often struggled in a sea of giants. I will never forget my D-League tryout when I got pinned to the backboard by a dude who was 7'1", and I just let the humiliation of that moment kill every ounce of hope I had. You're a shining example of hard work. You kept your nose clean, grinded hard, worked hard, tried your best on the court every day. You spent off seasons improving. No one could have imagined you'd go from an undrafted kid addressing the draft party to a max player. No one but you. You kept irrational faith, and you showed the world what's possible with hard work, determination, and dedication to the craft. You're a consummate professional on the court, a no-nonsense entrepreneur off the court. And I hope the kids who watch you grow in Toronto will draw a lot of inspiration from your story. It's one every single 5'10", 5'11" hooper who stopped short when some giant human sent their shot to the parking lot can learn from. Bet on yourself. And you did it. And now you've made a life for your friends, family. You've helped Rockford, inspired a city that needed its hero. You won a championship, became an all-star, secured the bag. I will not root against you in Houston. I will not boo you on your return to Toronto. I always had issues with elements and aspects of how you did things and how they impacted the people around you. The world is cold sometimes. I wish it wasn't. My critique sometimes crossed the line. I know it angered a lot of people who care about you. They told me that. I can't imagine watching someone talk about someone that I care about the way I talked about you the past 20 months and how I'd take that. So I wish you good luck in Houston. I hope you'll be the leader that those kids need. Supportive, loving, nurturing, and protective. Good luck. Salute. It's over. Peace. I am very happy to close that chapter. Guilt? No. You notice how I'm not apologizing to you specifically? It's not guilt. It's closure. Apologies. This is not an apology, first of all. Forgiveness and moving on is never about the other person. Am I still kind of like, at least from a mental perspective, upset? Like, you know what, Mel, you get out of here. get out. I don't like people who take a positive moment and try to turn it into a negative because they're wired negative. I don't like that, especially when they present themselves as positive. So you can get out. I think closure and moving on, peace. I think it's really important to be able to sometimes just move on from situations that aren't resolved. Just resolve them and move on. He is not on this team. I've received a lot of DMs over the last couple of days saying, Rob, why? He's gone. You know, like, just let it go. He's gone. So I have. That's fair. His cousin's messaging me saying, oh, why do you hate him so much? If that's the impression I've given you, that I hate the guy, I do not hate him. I hate what he did. And I'll be honest, I watched a couple of videos and I read a couple comments about him, and I felt hate coming from those videos. And that's when I realized, holy shit, like, if I contributed to this person hating a stranger this much. There were times this year, I got to be honest, when he was talking to the media, I felt it too. I felt anger, like real anger that bordered on hate. It was hard to listen to some of that stuff. But it's over now. He is in Houston. And like it or not, he just did this franchise the biggest favor, because y'all know that they were chasing him with 4 years, 120. Fourth year partially guaranteed. So I think it's just, we owe so many people thanks for this. We owe James Harden thanks for this. We owe Ime Udoka thanks for this. One day in Toronto, I don't know if we will build a statue of Kyle Lowry, but I certainly hope we build a statue of James Harden. Thank you so much, James Harden. Thank you for your service, Fred VanVleet. And in all honesty, none of that was facetious. All of it was genuine. I extracted every positive thought I had about him and I put it on the paper. And anytime I had a thought of like, but I really want to add that negative part, I was just like, nope, don't do it. It doesn't matter. Scottie is, fine. He is what he is. This team is going to be fine. And Fred got paid. Everything worked out fine. It cost us a year, but in the end, it worked out fine. Okay. So anyway, I hope that we can all move on. I really do. I hope that we as a fan base can move on. I know we've been at each other's necks. A lot of people have accused this fan base of getting more toxic than it usually has. I am hoping that with Nick Nurse, Fred VanVleet gone, that we can just move on. I know some people have suggested that I'll just move on to some other target and I'll, create agendas about them. I will not. I do not have a personal issue with any player on this team other than him. Okay. And honestly, if I have to be completely honest about this, yeah, like, I'm not a super huge fan of Pascal Siakam and his role on this team. I think he's a little bit overrated. That is my honest opinion about that. I'm not saying anything more about him other than the fact that I don't think that he's worth $50 million. And that's just where I'll leave it. I don't think he's worth $50 million. I think some team out there, and you know what? If we still had like a Kawhi Leonard star, like a Kawhi Leonard level star, and he was coming on as a second guy, he might be worth $50 million in the near term. Long term, definitely not. But it's the kind of guy that you put next to a star. If Jaylen Brown is really unhappy in Boston, that's a guy that you might look at and say, okay, well, what would Pascal Siakam and Kristaps look like in the front court? Or, again, if the Portland Trailblazers were dangling the third pick, that's the type of guy you look at putting next to Dame Lillard. But I don't think you run an offense through him. I don't think you build an entire team around him, because I think that, just like what I said with Fred VanVleet, basketball trickles down. You get your marching orders from the top. Your best player has to be, to some extent, one of your best leaders. Your best player has to be actually one of your best players. And every player on the team has to register and accept that that player is, in fact, as good as you think he is. If tomorrow, for some reason, the Raptors decided this whole thing was a mistake, they're going to build the whole thing around Malachi Flynn, this team would be in disarray all the time. Because there's no way you can sell 16 guys to play second fiddle, third fiddle, or a complementary role to Malachi Flynn. You just can't. There's just a natural order of things. I think we've all been on that basketball team, for those of you who played, where there was some shenanigans and nepotism going on, where some guy kind of came on to the team and he got something that he didn't earn. And we all felt it. We're like, yo, it's because he knows his dad. The coach knows his dad. That's why he's starting at 2. And he's starting over someone that we all know he's better than. That creates a lot of disharmony. Know what I mean? Yeah. Okay. Yo, what do you think we're trying to do? This was a move on post before you came in here with your dumbass comments. We were moving on. What are you trying to do? You trying to get a one up? Like, how miserable is your life? It's tough. It's tough. They need some adults in the room. I think Brook Lopez would have really helped. I mean, anytime an individual pursues individual goals within a team framework or context, I mean, his display pick is 2 dice or 2 dice. Like, it's gonna be tough, especially when other people have families to feed too. Other people are trying to get paid too. Like, why should they put? Like, you have to get everyone on board with certain things, and it's not enough to just say, "Well, coach said so, so let's do it." And I think at least something that I've noticed with all the reporting around Chris Paul, right, is when you have a group of 17 guys, there's certain things that have to stay in house. Within the locker room, it has to stay in house. The minute someone starts snitching outside that group of 17, you break an unwritten rule within basketball. This is not supposed to be broken. So whether you say it to coach, whether you say it to the media, whether you tell your friend and your friend's an idiot and they post it on Twitter, whether you tell some gossipy, TMZ or something, like, anytime that covenant is broken, there will always be disharmony. Anytime there's disharmony, you always find rumors. It just happens that way. So, it's obviously the conflict resolution in-house was not great. In my opinion, it was not great, right? You have a squandered opportunity here with Precious Achiuwa, Christian Coloco. There are some talented players on this team that need real guidance. And it's not enough to just be an example. It's not enough to just work hard every day and say, well, y'all, follow my lead. No, there are some conversations that need to be had with young players, right? You talk to Vince, right, about the role that Kevin Willis and Charles Oakley and Muggsy Bogues and Del Curry, like, all these guys, these were solid vets, man. Honestly, kudos to Glenn Grunwald for putting such a amazing team. That is roster building 101. You cannot have a team like Houston last year. Nobody gets better. So yeah, we're gonna shit on Jalen Green and Cade Cunningham because they were thrust into situations as number 1 and number 2 picks respectively. And number 2 and number 1 picks respectively. But where is their guidance? Where is their veteran leadership? Where is the coaching, to know-how? Where is the organizational stability? All of these things are necessary for actual development. So I think that there is a lot of disharmony in the locker room, but I certainly don't think that Fred made a choice. He wasn't like, okay, I'm going to make sure everyone's really mad at me. I think he genuinely just did what was natural to him. And yeah, I don't know. Rob, toss that letter out. No, I will not. Yeah, you a fan with parasocial tendencies. Cool. I suggest you Google parasocial. Having an opinion about other people, even if it's a strong opinion, does not make you parasocial. Double so if they know who you are. The parasocial element is you having some sort of thing about me because I don't know anything about you. I've never watched you. I don't know who you are. I don't know if you're a real person. So you having an obsessive relationship, writing comments everywhere, you're the one who has a parasocial relationship. You understand how the tables flip there? It's funny though, eh? I mean, yo, honestly, do you really think that there's a single player on the Toronto Raptors that's not heard of this channel, not watched this channel, even in jest, even if they watch it and they're like, can you believe how ridiculous this guy is? So if they're aware of you, how could it be parasocial? It can't be. I remember I had a teammate. The scapegoat for all that was. Yeah, I mean, let's bring back Carter and Lowry. The Lowry thing may still be on the table. If Lowry gets moved in a deal that brings back Dame Lillard and the guy and the team that gets him buys him out or waives him, I don't understand why they would, but if they did, that would be a really interesting. They're only going to let you ask Serbian-related questions to Darko. Well, how would they monitor it? Maybe I ask him in Serbian whether or not he thinks Doug Smith deserves a job at the Toronto Star. That's funny. Agreed. Yeah, I have friends who swear they're better than NBA players, and I just have to say, like, you're not. Like, nah. These guys are so good, man. I had a friend in high school who swore he was better than this particular player. Yo, actually, we've all been there. When I was 14, I swear I thought I could beat Milt Palacio one-on-one. I was sure of it. I told my mom and everything. I was like, yo, I could beat this guy. He's so bad. He just keeps missing layups and layups and layups. But no, like he would smoke me 101-0. Like, it's bad. And I got to find this out when you go up against guys like Javon Shepard, who are not as good as Milt Palacio, or DeVoe Joseph or Corey Joseph, like these dudes. Like, I mean, I'm not saying they're not as good as Milt Palacio. I'm just saying, like, none of them are stars, right? And you see these dudes, like, they're putting up 50, 60 easy, especially in a one-on-one situation. My God, Milt Palacio would beast. So Malachi Flynn would kill you one-on-one. I promise you that. Like, and he's a really shifty ball handler too. It's tough, man. Scoring in the NBA is tough. Playing in the NBA is tough. Winning in the NBA is even tougher. I think this fan base is a little bit spoiled from all the winning the last few years, but chat, who would you rather have on the team? Nick Claxton, Cam Johnson, Mikal Bridges, or oh wow, all three, or Pirtle, OG, and Pascal? Damn, that's a good question. Y'all want to answer that? You can. Dylan Brooks locks up and has a broken jumper like 95% of the Raptors roster. Promise you 95% of the Raptors roster does not have a jump shot that's worse than Dylan Brooks. That would be, you'd be setting up for the worst team in NBA history. Thank you for remembering that I'm American. Yes, thank you. Sarah, I want to see Scottie average 35, 16, and 28 next year. No cap. Yo, you're funny, man. You need to fire up NBA 2K, turn sliders way up. Are you just trolling at this point? I've never known you to be a troll, but like this is. Okay. Anyways, we're gonna call this alive. Yeah, I can't say it enough. Definitely go and check out Goateology on YouTube. It's a great channel. I just want to get that guy to 4,000 subs. Is that weird? Do I have a parasocial relationship with Goat? Oh my God. Oh no. I'm just kidding. We talk. We know each other. It's cool. The support is unreal though. I got to tell you, like it's such a great thing, man. The guy supported Pendant so hard. Wait, I'm not like he supported this chat so hard. He's dropped like crazy super chats and like so many videos. So I'm very deeply appreciative that someone from this community has gone out and done this. And I just want to share one of his messages. And he had written, if you go and check his YouTube, he's written this message, and I want to share it here because I actually want you to go over to his YouTube. And he's written this message about an open letter to Masai Ujiri. So if you're frustrated, write him a letter to his email and he'll incorporate it in his next video, which I thought was a really genius move, which is, kind of what you expect from a really smart content creator. And he just had this point that I was like, it's so well put. He said, I'm paraphrasing. He's like, I never really noticed how much fans could impact things until this year. It's like, I think we did impact a lot. Wouldn't you agree? I think we voiced a lot of frustrations. People talked about it all the time. Oh, I got to turn off my socials. Things are getting really heavy. Because we were watching what was happening and we just kept complaining about it. It's going to get louder and louder and louder. And we didn't let it go unnoticed. Everyone heard about it to the point where your front office had to acknowledge it. And they weren't going to do anything about it, but they had to at least acknowledge it. They had to say that we were selfish, stat padding. Where did these charges come from? This channel. 100% they came from this channel. Find me another place that said it first. So it's true. Like, this community just went out into Raptor sphere and just started talking these points, and suddenly it's everywhere, and there's no trace of like where it started. I mean, obviously, unless you check the internet, we know where it started. It started here. It started in freaking game 4. It started in game 3, game 4. That's when we started it. By game 50, it was everywhere. This is selfish. This is selfish. Fred's selfish. Fred's, step padding, all that stuff. That started here. So now they have to acknowledge it because everyone's talking about it. How can you not acknowledge it if everyone's talking about it? And when I started approaching this concept of becoming a media person, like having a media pass, someone close to that situation was like, they're not going to let you do that, right? Like, you're going to have to find a new way in, bro, because the minute they check out this channel, like, you're the type of person that's going to ask all the questions that they don't want answered. Because I would have straight up asked, why y'all so selfish? Why don't you move the ball? Well, if you guarded by 3 people, why are you not passing the ball? Why are you taking a layup over 4 people? Like, I would ask these questions. Like, I would definitely ask these questions. They would not be on the pre-approved list, but I would ask them. So I think that, this is a chance, I think, for everybody to realize what is possible with new media. This is not me patting myself on the back. Please understand that. What I'm trying to tell you is do this. Do this for yourself. If you have, am I that good looking? No, can't even figure out my lighting. Am I that great on the mic? I think I'm all right. Got better at it. Anyone can do this. You can start a YouTube channel. If you have real thoughts about basketball, why not start a YouTube channel, yo? Why don't you start a podcast? Maybe you're camera shy. You don't want to put your face out there. Because I got to tell you, going to Raptor games is a little uncomfortable. I'm dodging 23 jerseys a lot because the people coming up to you giving you really nasty, little one-liners and shit like that. Maybe you don't want to put your face out there so much. That's okay. Start a podcast. Do something. It gets the conversation started because the way this works is, I promise you, if I tried my damnedest, if I paid $1 million marketing budget last year to create a channel devoted to elevating Malachi Flynn as a starting point guard, it would not have worked because that would have been stupid and that would have been cap and no one would have bought it. And it's not possible. But if you tell the truth to enough people, eventually it does. It's like it does catch on. And I think that it just kind of dominates the conversation. And I've talked about this with my girlfriend yesterday, but it's kind of like a lesson that I've learned from politics, from observing politics from a historical lens, that when people go political, you have to learn politics. I hate politics. I genuinely do. I'm not a very political person. I'm not at all a political person. I don't have strong opinions about politics. But it seems to me that a lot of people who run the world and run team sports and run the NBA, run major businesses, are very political. And so instead of consistently being shafted by these people and fucked over by these people, I thought, let me try to understand what they're doing. The art of war teaches you, if they are big, you are small. There is a competitive advantage to being big and small. Big doesn't move or adjust as fast. Small can move as fast as you want. They are beholden to a certain set of self-imposed ethical limits. You are not. They are technically held to journalistic integrity. I call it plausible deniability, but they call it journalistic integrity. They say some sources said, they say allegedly a lot, but they know what they're doing. It's all legalese to get their point across so that no one can ever hurl back at them. Hey, you were unhinged here. You lied there, whatever. But I am held to no such standards. I don't have a media pass right now. And I'm not beholden to any journalistic integrity at all. I mean, I try to hold myself to journalistic integrity, but you understand what I'm saying. So they have to say some people. I can just say their name. And that may be what has pissed a lot of people off, because I think that we've ruffled a lot of waters here. But I'm happy we did, because if that's what it took to get where we are now, my only hope is that this doesn't stop in this community. I hope communities grow out of this. I hope that if you want to cover stats and analytics or whatever, and here's my open offer to any subscriber of this channel. If you want to start a YouTube channel, if you were genuinely curious about how to start one, if you want to, try to do a little bit of what Goat is doing. I mean, it's not easy. The dude is freaking really amazing video editor. And you want to reach out to me, email me. It's in the about section. You can email me, just write in the subject heading, need help with podcast or need help with YouTube or something like that. And I will happily schedule a free 20-minute call with you and just walk you through the basics of what you need in terms of a mic, in terms of, just best tips and practices. And then you're on your own. I'm not becoming like your whatever, and you don't have to pay me anything, whatever. I'm just happy to help. If you want to have a voice, get a voice. You have a voice already. You were born with one, so use it, And I think that the more people that do this, the less influence that a very small group, cliquish group, will have. That's just my opinion. So anyways, I have no idea what the comments are saying right now. Let me just read them quickly and then I'm out. Wait, what? Didn't someone offer? Yeah, someone did. I can't remember what it was for. I think it was something I was trying to sell, and they offered me a Fred VanVleet basketball that was signed, and I said no. I thought it was really funny. K Money, yo, what up? If you want me to still speak on that Twitter space, I can right after this. I don't mind. I've never spoken on a Twitter space before, but yeah, I can do that. Why is everyone bigging up K Money? That's funny. I guess people haven't seen you since you dropped like $1 million in one of those lives. Hate is a strong word, but you know what? I'm with you, man. That's it's close. It's edging there. Yo, man, we have enough trolls. We don't need our. Am I secretly Goateology? That would be the weirdest shit on earth, wouldn't it? Wow. Like, you just blew my mind. No, that would be weird. So I read one of his one of his comments. You guys are brothers from a different mother. No, I promise you I am not. And if one day I have to prove it in the court of law, I have a very, very easy way to prove it. We do not look alike. Let's just put it that way. Be like a Travolta face-off thing, Yo. Why I moved to Canada? It was my parents getting divorced. Can you preview the Guangdong Tigers next stream? Yo, it's the Guangdong Tigers. So I seem to recall suggesting that Fred VanVleet is going to be going to the Guangdong Tigers in a live stream in, I think, February. And then people just started going with it. And I showed my girlfriend Drake's quote, and it was really funny because she's just like, is Drake quoting you? And I was just like, kind of, but he doesn't know it. I mean, let me know. Like, maybe I'm wrong. Like, maybe somebody else had this brilliant idea of Fred VanVleet's going to China next year. But like, I swear, I thought I was the one, yo. Why is everyone bigging up K Money, yo? Sugar Daddy Crazy Gang. That's funny. Okay. All right, guys. Take care. Have a good one. No, that's cool. I thought it was Tigers. It is Tigers. Rob's brother is Diego Luna. I keep hearing this, and I Googled it, and it is what it is. That's good stuff. Okay, I will. I'm gonna join the Twitter space for K Money. Yo, K Money, drop the link if you want people to join in. I'll put it on the screen because I'm gonna go talk on that space. I promise you, I've never talked in a Twitter space. I've listened to a few. I've always been like kind of intimidated to go into one, to be honest. Like, I don't know what I'm doing in this space. I don't know if I'm supposed to talk. Usually sounds like a lot of people yelling over each other, so I don't know. Okay, drop the link. And then I'll close this live. And then people have it. K Money ambushing me with like a Siakam fan group, yo. That's funny. Everybody join. Yo, yeah, we can join. Just drop the link. K Money, it's time to be K Linky and drop the link, man. Okay, so I don't want to keep this live going if it's gonna be just drop the link, yo. Yo, you got us all on edge right now. We're like, where's this link coming? Are we? Drop a freestyle? I can't. I don't know how to. But Sean could definitely freestyle for sure. All right. K Money is not messing with us. He has the link. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna drop the link in the. Yo, bro, like, come on, man. Send me the link. Are you sending it to me on Twitter? My bad. He is serious. He messaged me earlier about doing this, and then I said I had to do this live. Hang on. Sent you the link. He did send me the link. My bad. Hang on. My bad. Hang on. Let me just get it. We're asking for the link, and he sent it. My bad. Oh, feature Pensare. Oh, shit. Oh, shit. All right. The hype is on. About to take on all my Twitter trolls. All right. Okay. All right. Shit, yo, how do I... Okay, wait. Copy message? How do I share this? Like, what's the link? You know what I mean? It's saying copy message. Like, hang on. Got it? Yeah, I think I got it. There. There you go. All right, let's do this. I got 14% battery. That means I got like 20 minutes to do this. All right, you got the link. Y'all got the link. Take care. Peace. Hit the sub up. Hit the like on this video. And then... Oh, please don't do the gang thing. Like, don't... Wait. And Sean... we're blue. Yeah, don't do the gang up thing. I don't need that. But like, I mean, obviously speak your mind. We don't need any more groupthink in this world, man. All right. Bro, I don't know how to freestyle, yo. All right, peace, man.